Welcome to Bloomberg Small Business, the show that provides a blueprint for entrepreneurial success. I'm Lane Bajardi. On today's program, we'll also talk about strategies to grow your company, and we'll explain how philanthropy can help you make valuable connections that could lead to more business. But first, given all the uncertainties in the business and financial environment, should companies be taking risks in 2005? I put that question to business forecaster and strategist Mary O'Hara Devereaux. She's CEO of Global-foresight and author of Navigating the Badlands, Thriving in the Decade of Radical Transformation.
Well, I think it's a good time to take some risks. I think that businesses, both large and small, sort of global and domestic, really do need to look at each risk very cautiously, because I think there will probably end up being slower growth in 2005 than there was in 2004, and there's apt to be a bit more volatility. So definitely lots of opportunities, room for growth, but be cautious. Place your bets carefully.
You don't see the kind of surprises in, say, GDP, the opportunity that's greater than people originally thought it was. You expect things to be pretty slow and steady in 2005?
I think it's going to be sort of more of the same, more slow and more steady. I don't think we're going to run into a huge amount of volatility, probably, for another 2 or 3 years that'll be more persistent.
But with that persistence and with that perhaps even predictability, even with that volatility moved into it, does that make it an opportunity for smaller and medium-sized businesses to actually go out and grab a piece of what will be whatever the next big move is?
Well, I'm bullish on a couple of things in the economy. One of them is small and medium-sized businesses. I think for the United States, they're going to be a huge engine of growth in the future. It's a trend that's growing and will continue to grow. They need to place their bets very carefully too, but I think they really need to look at expanding. In fact, I think the next 2 to 3 years before we hit the next recession is a very good time for small, medium-sized businesses to really think about growth, be very strategic, build some new core competencies, because in some ways I think the future is theirs.
When you take a look at employment here, and certainly a lot of those 2 million jobs that the government likes to say that were created in the previous year, we came from small and medium-sized businesses, came from the lower ends, didn't come from the largest companies. What's the conundrum here for employment this year?
Well, I think the employment conundrum just is the job churn and sort of the big structural shift that's going on in the job market, that there are lots more jobs in small and medium-sized businesses. Some of them are, low wage. We haven't figured out sort of what is the new meaning of jobs in the United States. And so I think that's the conundrum. The conundrum is, how do we really create jobs that have the kinds of wages that really...
It's more than just jobs, it's good jobs. And not losing good jobs elsewhere.
And well, I think that, we're going to lose, it's the global economy. And we've had outsourcing for, a couple of decades, so that's really not new. And many of the jobs that are being created offshore in China and India really are being created in support of those huge growing domestic economies. And many of our own transnational corporations that are headquartered here, headquartered in Europe, are going to create high-end jobs in those countries because they have the people that can do it.
And the same things, the same technologies and the same types of agreements that different countries have with each other about these things are also opening doors for small businesses to serve there.
Absolutely.
How do you talk a bit about your view of the international opportunities that are out there? You spent a lot of time in China.
I've spent a lot of time in China, a lot of time in other countries. I think we're going to see small and medium-sized businesses go global more and more. Globalization has kind of leveled the playing field, and so small and medium-sized businesses can take a hold of a lot of opportunities on the global supply chain, which is really the big organizing principle of this economy. And I think they're going to venture out. I just helped a couple of companies, very small companies, do some very interesting deals in China in the past year that they hadn't even thought about till we worked strategically on some of those opportunities. So I say to every small and medium-sized business, look at the global economy and figure out what kind of a play do you have there.
It can be very scary, though. I mean, China's a place that's very far away. And it has a different system than ours. A lot of people have been able to take very good advantage of working in that environment, and others may be very afraid to. So the smaller you get, the more concern and consternation you may have about trying to launch something.